What's up, guys? This is Hitch, and today I wanted to show off and introduce my Mustang 2003 Mach 1 to you guys. I got about 55,000 miles on it. It was 40,000 when I got it a little over 3 years ago. Bought it from this senior couple from Kentucky. Looked like they needed a little bit of help getting up out of the car, and I thought that is fantastic. That is what I need. And I've been trying to keep the miles low on it, but let's be honest, this thing is a ton of fun to drive. This is my baby. I love washing it, keeping it clean, and of course, you know, hugging some curves real good every now and then. Now this is the Mach 1, so you've got the GT, the Mach 1, and the Cobra. So this kind of bridges that performance gap in between the GT and the Cobra, and believe me, there is quite a performance gap between those two cars. As you remember, or you may know, the Cobra, the Terminator, was an absolute monster from factory. You put, you know, $800 or $900 worth of upgrades, you're pushing 500 horsepower. The GT, on the other hand, was an absolute slouch. Let's be honest. A bunch of high school kids had a lot of fun in those cars. They were loud. They turned some heads, but ultimately it was a Crown Vic. That's a Crown Vic engine. This right here is a little different. It goes from the 16 valve of the GT and upgrades to 32 valves. So you no longer have that bottleneck. You can actually make some decent power out of the Mach 1. It does have a forged crank, and we'll probably go into a little bit more detail in another video if you guys are interested in what the differences are between the GT, the Mach 1, and the Cobra, and which one that you want to get. Ultimately, I would have loved to go with the Cobra, but the financing on the Cobra, you got to have thousands and thousands of dollars down. I put like $4 grand down on this. With a Cobra, you probably would have had to do like 10,000. But anyways, I did want to, you know, let you guys know the Mach 1 is a fantastic car to drive, to own. Had a lot of fun with this, modding it. As far as mods go, you know, if you guys want any specific questions answered, if you have any questions about any of the mods I'm going to list off here, definitely let me know down in the comment section below, and I may just do some separate videos, you know, whether a cold air intake is worth it, whether headers are worth it, suspension's worth it, and maybe, you know, some installation questions as well. Now, that being said, start off with, of course, a cold air intake. That's kind of where most people start off with. It's a simple upgrade. It's not that expensive. I got a JLT cold air intake, so it's got the air filter is actually up here underneath the fender, and it feeds air from there. So it's pulling in a little bit colder air than if it was just up under the hood. That's why I went with that, and I've had, you know, pretty good results out of that. Of course, you have to do the exhaust next, and FLOWMASTER 40s is usually the top choice with these Mustangs. They just sound so good with FLOWMASTERs. It's just kind of an iconic mashup there. When I first put those on, they rattled a little bit, so I switched over to some Borla Attacks, and holy crap. Like, this car was so much more loud than it was fast, and I don't really like that. If it's going to be loud, it better be really fast, and that's kind of the way I want it to be. But so I swapped it back over to the FLOWMASTERs. Got a BBK X pipe on there, and unfortunately, I'm going to tell you guys, those things hang really low. Ended up hitting a block or something in the road and tearing it up pretty good. So I just went back, had a custom one made so it doesn't drag near as much. I would definitely recommend that instead of the BBKs. So as far as exhaust goes, after that, this is the last upgrade, was the headers. They are an absolute booger to put in. You have got to drop the K member out from under it. Pretty much the entire front suspension or front end of the car, you know, has to come out from under it. And when you're using jacks and hand tools, that's not a whole lot of fun, but I think it was worth it. Now, before I did the headers, the biggest thing on the car as far as looks go that you can notice are these American Muscle torque thrust wheels. I really like that. This car is kind of an ode to the 70s. And it's kind of a hat tip to the old school muscle car era. So I went with these. The FR 500 chromes look really good on the Mach 1s as well. But like I said, going for the more retro look right here, and also switched over to the Firestone Firehawk Indy 500s. Went with a staggered fit. These have 245 45 17s in the front, and went for a 275 40 17 in the rear. I'm telling you guys, like, I wanted to put some, you know, 305 Nittos on here. They run for, you know, a decent penny, but these Firestone Firehawk Indy 500s, I read some really good reviews on them, so I had to try them out. They were like $400 cheaper to go with these, and I love them. Also lowered it 1.5 inches all the way around with EIBACK springs, lowering springs. And if I knew the difference that those springs would have made in this car, I would have put it on before I put any power adders on. The way this thing plants power now even feels different. Whenever I first had it, it was very floaty around the corners. If you hit a bump going down the interstate, you're going to feel it 2 or 3 more times. It's going to float a little bit. A lot of these manufacturers, they're trying to make a car that's not only quick and sporty, but comfortable. And after lowering this thing, it is slightly less comfortable, but a whole lot better handling. And it's actually a pretty decent ride. The ride is not that bumpy at all. It's not that stiff, but man, we took it up to the Dragon this past week and just absolutely loved it. Hung those corners, only got the tires to squeal maybe on 2 occasions if you're really pushing it. And I mean, it handles really well. I know a lot of people say, oh, the solid axle cars are just not going to handle. Well, I must just not drive fast enough to get it to those limits. But hey, it's an older car. It's got 55,000 miles on it, so I'm not going to beat up on it too bad. Other than that, just some minor cosmetic changes. Put those badges on there. I like the chrome, but man, if you're looking at buying a cost-effective muscle car, I think these have gone up recently with the Biden-inflation that has happened in the economy, so they might end up dropping back down once Trump or DeSantis gets into office. But I got this one for $13,500, and it has been worth every single penny. I have not ever been more satisfied with a purchase in my life. I absolutely love this car. So if you're looking at, a cost-effective way to get some good horsepower that's not just, entry level, and one that actually turns heads, 0304 Mach 1 might be your choice. Like I said, just love this car. Fun to take out on the weekends, drive through the mountains and everything. But hey, just to remind you, if you enjoy gaming, you can definitely hop on my Hitch Good Gaming channel as well and check that out. I definitely love playing some old school Battlefield games, some old school COD games, and every now and then we'll find something new to play while I'm not tinkering on the car. But guys, I do hope that you enjoy this. Please post your comments or your questions down below. If you have any questions about mods or differences in between the Mach 1 and the Cobra, I'll probably do a separate video on that. I'll probably do a separate video on why I chose a Mach 1 instead of a newer Mustang, even though I would have had kind of similar payments on the financing. But other than that guys, y'all have a blessed day. Hitch Good out.